Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Time to rise and shine and start the week off well. How is everybody doing today? Hey, English Jewel, Tanisha Taylor. Hey, Nia, what's up, boo? I love you. I owe you a text, by the way. Good morning, Deneede Prophetess Hardy, Virtuous Kim, CM Christian 72, K Trilio. Good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is ready to start your week off in wisdom, ready to start your week off with excitement and confidence and joy. I believe that it is a true blessing from the Lord to be able to wake up on Mondays, starting our week off with expectation. I believe that God wants us to have great expectations for our future. So I am starting my Monday off with expectation. If you woke up sad, depressed, or needing some encouragement, then you have landed on the right broadcast, because I want to encourage you guys today. Kind of just want to share a little bit from some of my personal devotions, some of the personal things that God has been sharing with me. So if you guys want to go ahead before we jump into this word and invite your followers, share the broadcast, I'm going to wait another minute and then I'm going to jump right into it. So feel free to share and invite your followers, and then we will begin. Hey, Kim, good morning. Thank you guys for inviting your followers. You guys are awesome. Want to make sure that everybody is encouraged this Monday. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, all right. I hope everybody had a good weekend. For those of you that were with us for the online singles conference, you know that we had a great weekend rocking it out. All right, all right. Good morning, New York. Good morning, good morning. Okay, so how I want to start this week off, I just want to share a little bit with you guys kind of about what God's been speaking to me personally, because I really believe that what God's been sharing with me and what God's been sharing with me personally could really just encourage you and help you to start your week off well. You know, like I said, I think a lot of us start things with good intentions, but then, you know, as the week progresses, month progresses, year progresses, sometimes we kind of fall off those things because we don't have this key thing that I'm going to talk about that helps us to push through, that helps us to see something to completion. So I was talking to God this morning. I was like, God, you know, I want this to be a good week. I want to start off this week in victory. I want to start off this week, you know, encouraged, but I want to finish it well too. So I was like, okay, God, I have great intentions. I got the talent. You gave me. Okay, goodbye, sir. You gave me the talent. You gave me what I needed. So what is it going to take for me to end this thing as good as I started it? If I just want to take a minute and be really transparent with you guys, almost 10 out of 10 times, I start my week off well. I start my week off with joy. I start my week off empowered, encouraged, with all these goals and plans of what I'm going to get done. And then it's Friday and I look back and I'm like, man, how did I end up so distracted? How did I end up so far off from the mark that God has called me to? How did I end up so far away from the thing that I destined to do, from the thing I planned to do? So I was talking to God this morning. I was like, you know what, God, I am so over having these weeks where I start off with great intentions, where I start off with the talent I need, where I start off, you know, with these great plans, and then I get to the end of the week and I'm discouraged and I don't understand why, or I don't accomplish what I set out to accomplish and I don't understand why. So I was like, okay, God, what do I need to do? What is the changing factor here? What is the one factor that I need to be able to see these things through to their finish and to be able to accomplish much? So what God spoke to me this morning, it was kind of a little hard to hear, but I want to share it with you guys, because I think that if you guys will take this key that God has given me this morning and will begin to apply it to your life, that you will see that by the end of this week you will have accomplished so much more. So it's going to seem simple, but I promise you guys, God told me that this was the key to my weeks actually ending up the way I want them to end up, and also the key to making sure that I accomplish much in this season. So if you're, okay, Jesus be offense this morning. People are mad. The devil's mad. That means this is a good word, so I'm excited. So what God told me this morning is, you got the talent, you have great intentions, you start your weekend, or you start your week out with these great intentions, but the thing that you lack, and I know this is kind of a curse word in the Christian world, but I'm just going to say it, the thing that you lack is discipline. So you have these great intentions. You have the talent. God is like, I've given you the resources you need. I've given you everything you need to prosper in this season. But what happens is the reason you don't steward these things that I've given you well to end the week as well as you've started it, or to accomplish everything you set out to accomplish throughout the week, is you lack discipline. God told me if I wanted him to entrust me with more this week, if I wanted him to entrust me with more this month, if I wanted him to entrust me with more, then my discipline has got to go up. God told me that every time that he's about to take us to the next level, what he has to see an increase in before he'll give it to us is discipline. So God told me this morning, was a hard word to receive, but I want to share it with you guys, is that talent and good intentions and even a plan are not, and you can have the best plan in the world, of the best 10-year plan, 2-year plan, 2-month plan, 1-week plan. It will fail 10 out of 10 times without discipline. God said, Monica, if you want to see this week go well, if you want to see yourself prosper in this month, then you have got to learn the ministry of discipline. You have got to learn the ministry of self-control. You've got to learn what it looks like to put things in place each day by disciplining yourself. And this was so hard to hear, but God said, Monica, the reason that your weeks never end as well as they start is because you lack a level of self-control and denial of the flesh you need. So when distractions come in, when your body says, hey, I'd like to sit on that couch, chill and watch TV, you give in because you don't have the discipline you need in the self-control. You know what happens is every Monday I seek the Lord for vision pertaining to that week. But then, the devil will come in and try to discourage me. I'll get to work or I'll be sitting in traffic, be discouraged. He's like, you allow these little things, these little foxes to destroy what it is that I've told you to do this week, because you lack discipline and you lack self-control. So God said, if you want to go to the next level, your discipline has got to increase, because discipline helps us to steward and discipline helps us to say no to the flesh. So God says it's always a war between your flesh and your spirit. The Bible tells us that a mind led by the spirit is life, but a mind led by the flesh is death. So he said a lot of these things that you intend to do throughout the week die because you allow yourself to be led by the flesh. You have got to get to a place to where your spirit, even when things get hard, even when you get discouraged, is the one that is in control, because the fruit of the Spirit is life. I read this quote this morning and it kind of shook me a little. It's really good. It says, talent without discipline is like, this is so funny, is like an octopus on roller skates. There's plenty of movement, but you never know if it's going to be forward, backwards, or sideways. So I thought that was so good. You can have some of the most talented people in the world. I look at some of these NBA stars, who have such great basketball skills, but at the end of their life, they have nothing to show for it. They've spent all their money. They have no good relationships. They have not left any kind of respectable, destiny for themselves, and they end up destroying things. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you do not have discipline, like this quote said, you're like an octopus on roller skates, just going around. Yeah, it looks like you're moving a lot, but you're going nowhere. So I think a lot of people do a lot of talking and do a lot of moving, but at the end of the week, end up nowhere because they lack discipline. They say discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. So like I said, God told me you start the week out with a lot of goals, but the reason they don't get accomplished is because you lack discipline. So I truly believe that the greatest disconnect between our dreams and reality stems from our lack of discipline. If you're somebody who has a lot of big dreams, who wants to accomplish great things, even in this week, you can have big goals and big dreams, but the gap between seeing those things actually come to pass or seeing those things come into reality is discipline. Because what discipline does is it brings the stability and it brings the structure you need to get things done. I'm going to share a few scriptures for you guys, with you guys about discipline, so that you can understand what having a disciplined mentality looks like. Hebrews 12:11 says this: "For at the moment all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but it later yields a peaceful fruit of righteousness for those who have been trained by it." So right there we understand that what the spirit of discipline does is it comes in to train. So if you want to excel in the area of discipline, you've got to position yourself as a student willing to be trained. From that scripture, we can understand, that scripture is Proverbs 12:1, that a disciplined person is one who loves knowledge more than the reward and is humble enough to receive correction. And we also understand that a disciplined person understands that they cannot bear fruit without being disciplined, and that currently denying themselves something in the present helps them to reap a greater harvest in the future. So it says that discipline doesn't seem pleasant at the present time. So somebody who has understood the ministry of discipline and who has submitted themselves to discipline understands that discipline requires a denial of the flesh in the current state so that they can reap a greater harvest in the future. So a disciplined person has got to be someone who says no to ultimate or to convenient satisfaction. So someone who says, you know what, I'm going to deny myself right now because I know that in the future I'll reap a greater harvest if I tell myself no right now. You know, unfortunately, we live in a microwave generation, and I'm someone who falls prey to this as well. I want immediate gratification. I want immediate satisfaction. I want things to happen right now. But a person who understands the greatness of discipline, the rewards of discipline, says, hey, I know what it means to deny myself something now because a greater reward awaits me in the future. I think about Jesus when he was in the desert being tested by the devil, and the devil basically said, hey, if you bow down to me, I'll make you ruler of all the earth. But what Jesus knew is that that wasn't the ultimate goal. He could have, basically skipped the cross and still been the ruler of all the earth if all he would have done is bowed down to the devil. But he knew that he had to say no to that immediate and instant gratification right there in order to push through for the greater fruit that awaited him in the future after he endured the cross. Proverbs 12:1 says this, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. All right, that's pretty blunt. So what that means is a disciplined person is one who loves knowledge, like I said, more than reward, and is humble enough to receive correction. So whoever loves discipline loves knowledge. So we have to understand that one of discipline's primary goals is to make us wise enough to make the right decision. If God was only invested in seeing us get a reward, he would just give it to us. But he is invested in the process, because what the process does is it makes us develop in character. It puts us through a season of developing our character, developing our mind, developing our decisions, developing our ability to handle the reward. So a disciplined person really is someone who is out to be increased in knowledge and not just receive the reward. What that means is that a disciplined person understands that they say no to something in the temporary in order to reap it later, and they are humble enough to receive correction. And here's why. Because Proverbs 3:11-12 says this, my son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, or be weary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. So what that means is that God rebukes those whom he loves. So a disciplined person is someone that understands that God's rebuke is a sign of his investment in your future season. When God rebukes or corrects you right now, what he's doing is he's pruning you, and he's helping you get to a place where you can handle what it is he has for you. So a disciplined person learns to love and welcome the correction of the Father, knowing that only a father rebukes those whom he sees as a son or as a daughter. So what that means is that a person who understands discipline understands that rebuke is necessary in order to remove those things that are not like God, so that he can entrust you with more. So when God rebukes you, it's not him punishing you. But a person who is immature will begin to play the victim role and will not see that there is a divine even connection and a divine, it is so important that you receive correction and that you receive rebuke. There is weight in receiving a rebuke, because what that means is that God is invested in you. Proverbs 25:28 says this, like a city that is broken down and without walls, leaving it unprotected, is a man who has no self-control over his spirit and sets himself up for trouble. A disciplined person understands that discipline and self-control are insurance for their calling. Because what Proverbs 25:28 says us is that a man without self-control is like a city without walls. So a city without walls leaves itself unprotected to every attack of the enemy. And how the enemy wants to come into attack is with distraction, is with, is with trial, is with temptation. And if you lack self-control, you will give in to every attack of the devil. You will give in to every temptation of the devil. So a person understands that discipline is actually insurance for their calling and is insurance for their purpose and destiny. Because what it does is it's like a wall around a city, so that when the devil comes in with something that looks like instant gratification, something that looks like you can skip the standards or the tests that God has called you to, get there quicker. When the devil comes in with a shortcut, you have those walls of self-control around you which protect you. Isaiah 1:19 says this, "If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the best of the land." What discipline does is it puts us in a place to be obedient to God. It is something that trains us to crucify our flesh, to say no to our flesh and say yes to the Spirit. A lot of us think that if we're willing, we'll eat the best of the land. But Isaiah tells us if you are willing and obedient. So like I said at the beginning of this broadcast, good intentions aren't enough. Talent isn't enough. Willingness isn't enough. Willingness must also be followed by obedience, and obedience can only be cultivated through somebody who has learned the ministry of discipline. Isaiah tells us that if you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the best of a land. So a disciplined person understands that willingness is not enough, but obedience has to follow. Intentions are not enough to get you there. You have got to be obedient as well, which is cultivated through discipline. 2 Timothy 1:7 says this, "For God did not give us a spirit of timidity or cowardness or fear, but he has given us a spirit of power, love, and sound judgment and personal discipline, the abilities that result in a calm, well-balanced, and self-controlled mind." So it's so interesting that Timothy talks about that God didn't give us a spirit of fear or timidity or cowardness, but that we all quote this scripture, but a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind, or love, power, and discipline, as some, versions say. So we love the love and power, but we forget that love and power are meaningless without discipline, because what a disciplined person understands is that love and power are nothing without self-control to properly employ them. Someone could give you all the power in the world, but power will cause you to self-destruct if you don't have discipline already cultivated to understand how to properly use that power and not to destroy it or not to allow it to destroy you. So discipline is so important. Like I said, talent and good intentions are not enough. So I just kind of wanted to come on this morning and share with you guys, basically from my personal devotions this morning, that God told me that, hey, you got the talent, you got the goods, you got the resources, you got the good intentions, but those aren't going to be enough to see you through your week. You need discipline. So if you want to accomplish much this week, if you want to see your dreams come true, if you want to see your plans followed through with, my challenge to you is to cultivate yourself through the ministry of discipline. Here's my Monday motivation, my Monday challenge to you. This is what God asked me, and I'm going to leave you guys with this question this morning. How is your lack of discipline affecting your ability to accomplish what God has called you to accomplish in this season and be the person that God has called you to be in this time? If you lack discipline, then I guarantee you are unable to accomplish what God has called you to accomplish, even in this day and this week. So let's just focus, even on this week. We got to really submit ourselves to the ministry of discipline if we want to see much accomplished. So my challenge to you guys today is to begin to understand the ways that you lack discipline and how that's affecting you. Because what a lack of discipline does is it has you going in circles. Or like the first quote that I shared at the beginning of this broadcast, talent without discipline is like an octopus on roller skates. There's plenty of movement, but you never know if it's going to be forward, backwards, or sideways. So let's, submit ourselves to the ministry of discipline, crucify our flesh, and discipline ourselves to see everything through this week to accomplish what God has called us to accomplish. So I'm in this challenge with you guys. I understand that God's called me to a greater level of discipline in order to accomplish everything He's called me to accomplish in this season. So That's it. Happy Monday. I love you guys. Always a blessing and an honor to start my week out with you guys. Just really cultivating ourselves in discipline this week, I think will help us to end this week, accomplishing what we want to accomplish. So I just encourage you guys, don't be discouraged. Before God entrusts you with more, He's always going to call your level of discipline to go up. So I love you guys. I love my #Scope family. Happy Monday to you all, and let's get this week started with discipline. All right, well, I will see you guys tomorrow on tomorrow's Sunrise Scope. If you are a fan of wisdom, it is my goal to see people risen up in wisdom so that they can make right choices and walk in the fullness of who God has called them to be. So feel free to follow me on Facebook, Wisdom is the New Black, Instagram, Wisdom is the New Black. You'll see some encouraging stuff on there. Check out my website, wisdomisthenewblack.com, and there are great things to come. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a blessed day. I love y'all.